Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you. And so thankful that you're committing yourself on a daily basis to removing the confusion in your life and to dedicating yourself to think more clearly. Part of what we want to do at AFA today is to give you resources by which you can do that. And one of those is the website where this story is coming to you from today, though I've seen other stories related to it in Fox News and other locales. But onenewsnow.com, the story is simply titled "Stage Set for Molestations and Violations of Privacy in California Schools." And that's what's going to happen, I believe, and I've said from the beginning of when this bill was introduced, that is going to happen once it is once the bill is enjoined into law, and it has been by the governor's signature yesterday. Very simply, if you're just joining us, what it does is it allows students in California public schools to walk onto campus one day. They don't even have to be dressed. They don't even have to go through the physical humiliation of dressing as the opposite gender. They can merely say, "I identify as the opposite," and the schools will be required to allow those students to participate in the full life of the school as the gender that they identify with on that given day. And so you have kids that are saying, "Well, I'm transgendered, and so because of that, I feel like a girl today or a boy yesterday," or back and forth between the two or whatever, using locker rooms of their choice, using bathrooms of their choice. And if people don't see the immediate danger that this poses, let me be unwantedly graphic here. But if you remember what high school aged boys are like, hormones do a lot more thinking for them than their brain on some days. What high school boy do you know that in his God created but natural sinful state wouldn't do anything he could to get into the girls' locker room? See, this is problematic, and yet the foolishness of any objections to this that are being pointed out, they're just being swept aside. The leaders are like, "We don't care what you think. This is the politically correct thing to do, and that's why we're doing it." 888-589-8840. The poll at onenewsnow.com asks simply, what would you do in response? Would you leave the state? Would you pull your kids out of public school? Would you insist upon security guards to keep the people in the gangster shower just separated? How will you stop intimidation, threats, harassing looks, sexual assault, rape? How will you stop any of those things? 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Let's go to, let's see, who's next? Let's go to Rachel in Michigan next. Rachel, you're up next with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Glad you're here. Rachel, are you there?
Here, I'm sorry. I was listening to you talk. I'm from Michigan, and I'm really appalled that the governor of California is allowing this to go on. I have a 9-month-old daughter she's my first one, and it just makes me cry to feel that her rights and privacy are going to be violated because, the opposite sex doesn't feel like his gender that day. They're not solving any problems. They're creating more. If they're going to solve a problem, create transgender bathrooms and transgender, locker rooms. Don't invite them in to invade these young girls' privacies and vice versa. If this were to happen in our state, I'd pull my daughter. She'd be much better off homeschooled than she would be, having her rights violated. It's just appalling to me that these people aren't standing up in an outcry to protect their children.
Yeah. Rachel, I can't say that I would disagree with anything that you said, and that is where the problem is. This is the snapshot of where we are as a culture. The problem is you may think, "Oh, well, that's California. It may take years, decades to get to the heartland." No, we're a sinful country. We turn our back on God. We do not honor Him. This is what we're asking for. And until the nation as a whole cries out to God in repentance and in renewal, begging reconciliation and forgiveness, we're not going to see. This is the trend of where it's all headed. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Thomas in North Carolina. Hi, Thomas. You're on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
How you doing, Mr. McCullough?
I'm doing well.
If I lived in California, I would pull my child out or either move out to another state or either school them. What we have to realize, this, see, a lot of this is all fault. You know, when I was a little boy growing up in the church, I was always taught that the law is no more. Now we live by grace. All thing we have to do is believe. See, the law still exists, whether people want to believe it or not. And now we see the fruit of the lawless world because we've been teaching that the law is no more. But the law actually develops your character. The laws of sacrificing lambs and all that stuff, that's moved to another level of sacrificing ourselves. But the law or the instructions of God are still intact, but the religious set has denied the law so long that now the law is not in the people, the instructions of God are not in the people. So now people feel like they can do anything they want to do as long as they believe. See, this is the result of them people teaching that for so long. Now people don't have the wisdom of God, the understanding of God, and the character of God because they have done away with the instructions of God.
Yep. No, I agree.
And that's Christianity teaches that. They've been teaching that all my life. And now you see the results of it. People are lawless. It's just a lawless world we live in. It's ungodly. And God is going to end it. That's all true.
Yeah, you well said, Thomas. Couldn't say it any better myself. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Frank in Kentucky. Hi, Frank. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
So, 888-589.
Hello, Frank.
Kentucky. Hi, Frank. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Okay, give him 10 seconds and he'll catch up. Frank, are you there?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about maybe years ago I heard of people say that some of the homosexuals have come out of the closet, but I believe that some of them have not come out of the closet. What I mean by that, I think like some of these governors and judges, you see where they are doing these sort of things. And also, maybe the governor is a homosexual.
What difference does that make, Frank, to what this law is, though? This law has to be stopped no matter who Governor Brown has sex with.
The point I mean is I've never seen blackbirds fly with other fowls. You know, blackbirds always fly together. That's the point I'm trying to say. I'm saying maybe he's a homosexual because evidently he's something like that because he wouldn't be doing what he's doing now. That's
if you want to go strictly along that line of thinking, then Frank, what we would probably be better to say is that maybe he just has a perverse sense of wanting to party as a high schooler. I mean, this is because I don't know that this is going to be particularly a problem for homosexual. I mean, homosexual girls are already in girls' locker rooms, and homosexual boys are already in boys' locker rooms. What this does is it takes the heterosexual population and throws a stink bomb right in the middle of that, confusing and clouding and removing privacy and removing protections in that regard. 888-589-8840, and doing so with almost zero limitations. I mean, that's the problem. It's all based on what the kid feels like, what he thinks he is, what he says he feels like he is. How does any of that get measured? Well, I feel like I'm a girl today, and because of that, I promise you I'm not going to have any lustful feelings for the girls that are walking around me in high school in the locker room without clothes on. Well, how can anybody take any kind of assurance? There's no logical way to enforce safety in such an environment. But if you say the things I'm saying to the elected officials, they look at you like, well, what kind of weirdo are you? Why would you think young men would act like that? And I'm only going off of what I remember boys in Christian college and in Christian high schools were like. Not to mention ones that went to public school. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Terry in Mississippi. Hi, Terry. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Yes, this is Terry.
Yes, Terry.
Kevin,
welcome.
My thoughts on this is it has to be with people who think these kind of thoughts like this is the right thing to do. they have to be given over to a reprobate mind. I mean, a born-again believer cannot feel that way, that this is natural and normal to do such a thing. And I think what we're going to have to do is, as Christians, we're going to have to get vocal. And I'm not talking about doing anything in the way of insurrection, but we're going to have to get in your face vocal and with righteous indignation. We're going to have to stand up and say we will not tolerate it. And we're going to have to force the media to look at us, because the media ignores what we feel, what we believe. I think it's got to get like the Tea Party again, where we're willing to throw the tea overboard and let our voice be heard, where they're going to have to see that we mean business and we will not tolerate it. And that's the only thing that's going to cause us to rise up and to force these leaders to come around to a Christian viewpoint, or at least a moral, decent viewpoint that will bless our nation again.
Yeah, Terry, I hear what you're saying. Here's my challenge with that. I think it's too late. People don't like my honesty in saying that. I don't think you undo that. I don't think when you've got people so far gone that they're signing laws like this into existence, and then people that will observe me having this conversation on this show will write on progressive blogs about how narrow-minded and bigoted and harsh I am about and uncaring and unfeeling I am for people that have gender confusion, because that's how this conversation will be. That's how it will be projected in other media outlets. Terry, I honestly don't think there's any value in forcing the media to observe what we're doing. I think we just grow our own media people. I think we start over again, because I think the idea that we can force non-believers to in some way resist those instincts, apart from a massive move of God, which is where the praying comes in, which is why we should be praying, which is why we need to be on our knees begging God for His mercy every single day. Mercy is the withholding of the punishment that we actually deserve. If we're not doing that, we're not doing our part. See, it's real comfortable and convenient to live our lives in the cloistered, secluded place that we do in, a corner of Kentucky or Mississippi or Texas or wherever. And turn on AFA every day and have our worldview reaffirmed and all the rest of it. But if all we're doing is sitting here and talking to the choir, sitting here talking to one another, we're losing the battles and we're losing the war. We're losing all of it. Because until we decide we're going to raise different children, we're going to have different marriages, we are going to start businesses and create financial resources, we are going to invade the public educational arena, we are going to invade the elective arena, we are going to hold our churches accountable to teaching the truth of God's word until we decide that we're going to do that and be serious about it. Then we are accelerating the rate at which this kind of garbage comes down the pike, because it is only the existence of what is good and godly that slows that down to begin with. 888-589-8840. Let's go to Randall calling from Oregon. Randall, you're up next on AFA Today. Glad you're with us.
Glad to be with you, too. Am I there?
Yep, you're here.
All right. Well, first off, I just wanted to say that your topic is very enlightening, and I think it's awesome that you're talking about it. As a prior service military individual, I think this issue is very big, because their first step was to start allowing women into the combat roles in the military. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just kind of weaning its way down that way. And honestly, I've got a 13-year-old daughter, and I'm only 28, and making it through high school and everything, honestly, if I was a high school kid right now, I would be jumping for joy. Because if somebody gave me the opportunity for some girl to say, I feel like a man today, and she's going to come into our locker room, it would be awesome. And I think the people nowadays are just so blind as to what the people in this world are capable of, that if some boy decided to say he felt like a girl today and wanted to go into the locker room with my daughter and something happened, there'd be a lot more trouble than a lot of people would anticipate.
Yep.
And I think that brings on another thing, because, I mean, where does this stop? If they're allowing it to happen in our military, if they're allowing it to happen with our children, of all things. Children have always been sacred. Everybody has always been out to protect our children.
Yeah, but
So
people
yes,
also know, Randall, that if you convince children to believe differently than their parents, you can actually wean them away from the traditional influence that parents have. And I don't see this as anything other than a direct attempt to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? All right, did we lose Randall? I think we did. Anyway, Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you. Yeah, so final thoughts on this. First of all, go over to onenewsnow.com, read the story, and then vote in the poll. But it's not going to be because the elected leaders in California didn't see the warnings coming. Kevin McCullough alone, just myself, has dedicated hours to this topic, to this bill, to this broadcast. We have rallied phone calls to the state capitol. They did this in spite of the opposition, not due to the lack of it. Jerry Brown did this because he wants to see this confusion be put into society. And friends, at the end of the day, if we're going to have a different country, we have to think clearly. So that's the purpose of AFA Today each day, is to help us do that. And also the Kevin McCullough Show each night. I hope you'll join us for that as well. And see you tomorrow here on AFA Today, live from New York with Kevin McCullough. Stay with us. Focal Point with Brian Fisher, just around the corner.